Okay, so we're back here. And before we continue doing dev work, I just wanted to point out, one, Minecraft's got new books, and then two, it's kind of talk about the ideal that they make way too many books for this game. I don't even understand this anymore, but I feel like I need to make a book for my stuff. Then again, I need to get my wiki up first. But getting back to working on things, I've been running a red matter run for a while. Yeah, these are pretty destructive, but they don't seem to be doing squat for lava. So we're going to go ahead and fix that real quick. Is the first thing we're going to do for this video. Let's go ahead, and that's going to be in the blast code, and that is going to be red matter. Now, one thing to know with the red matters, this is one reason I've imported a whole bunch of the code over in Classic to the new explosive system, is the red matter won't run in the new explosive system. So when I start to port these, I'm going to have to go after the smaller ones first, and then hit up the bigger ones. So let's go ahead and figure out why we can't kill fluid blocks. So now, this is a different piece of code than what we were just looking at. So we just reverse engineered the hypersonic the last episode, and we figured out how it functioned and how it did its thing and why it was doing what it was doing. We found out it did a radial degree something. I'm going to come up with some name for the system, but I'm probably going to find out it's already named. But this is different. This uses a radius, so it goes out in a bubble. So it, as the paint drawing, which I should have kept. I actually am kicking myself for that now. So how this one works, at least in theory, is it starts off at a bubble, and it goes out, and it goes out, and it goes out. So it goes out in a bubble. And what it looks like it's doing is it's using a box shape iterator. So how the actual code ends up functioning is we have a box, but then we decide we only want the circle in the box. You know that trigonometry, if you ever been in math class in high school, and they're like, you need to figure out the area of a circle inside of a box. This is why you actually need to do that, because we don't care about the red corners. We only want what's inside. We want this blue part. And then on top of this, what is even additional about this is that it actually, on top of that, which is the reason why this needs to be recoded, to be honest, is it goes through and it ignores everything outside of a certain point. So on top of that, it doesn't care about the center. So it only cares about that little blue ring. And unfortunately, because it does that, one, we're wasting tons of CPU, in theory. And then on top of that, it just runs like crap. That's what I'm going to say, is this whole thing is dumb. So I think in order to fix fluid blocks, what we want to do one, we need to do two here. That's actually probably why this is being dumb. Because are these fluid blocks even here? Let me get a bucket. No, they're rare. You know what I might actually do with this? Because it's already iterating outwards, and it's already wasting the CPU time. I may actually just go ahead and make it rescan everything out in the radius again. This would solve a few issues, actually. Not really. It doesn't really matter. So in order to fix the fluids, I think what we need to do is just go and do an is fluid check real quick. So let's move not that part. Let's move the is fluid check up here. And then we want to do is fluid or hardness. So fluid theoretically would not have a hardness anyways. By the way, the reason this does a hardness rather than a explosive check, in case Lem's ADC is watching this, because he argued this with me a few times. Explosive check is literally designed for an explosive. This is not an explosive. This is a suction, a gravity. It's literally sucking the block off the wall. So it's doing the same thing you're doing with a pickaxe, basically. So that should work on fluids now. The only problem is, well, I don't even know. This should be dead by now. I stepped away, I think, for almost 10 minutes. And I think these are only supposed to have a 5-minute lifetime around them. Let's set a new one off. Let's set it off like right here so it doesn't get sucked into the other one. Oh shit, it's gonna get sucked in the other one. Oh, there it goes. Come on, go off. Odd. Set the time of the day too so I can actually see what I'm doing. Why is it... Oh, there it goes. Oh, there's the second one. Yes! It's been a while since I've seen that happen. That is gone. Let's go check our damage here. Good thing is it didn't go that way or it had blown up my workspace. I probably should not be doing this in my main world. That's a nice crater though. But as you can tell, this looks a lot like my really crisp and clean Pathfinders in the new one. Because this code is basically a breadth first Pathfinder without actually being one. It does about the same type of... What is this over here? Oh, this is where it was spinning, it was throwing blocks out. And they're all sticking in the same spot. I'll work on that later. But I'm going to set another one of these off real quick because I want to see if it'll suck the fluid up. I mean, it's working really well. I need to really play around with the gravitational system in here. I kind of want the blocks to spend more time gravitating around it. And I kind of need to fix a few things too. As you can see, there's like leaf blocks and stuff. They're not collared properly. I know how to fix the leaf blocks, of course. We would have to fake out the world data. We would have to essentially create a fake world. But we're not, it's not destroying this lava over here, but again, I don't think it's iterated out far enough to hit it. So we'll sit here patiently and watch it and see if we can fix that. A lot of these little things we gotta work on in these blast code pieces. But you can see how it's working as a breadth first, this system, because it's taking away line after line after line of blocks right there in front of us. It runs pretty smoothly though, I have to admit this. The older code did have that one little cool factor that it did run pretty smooth. It not the smoothest thing in the world because of course it's not threaded very well. The old code is running on a really bad thread system. I need to go through and I need to run it through my worker thread system a little better than it already is. The worker threads are really nice because what we discovered with the older version of ICBM is that it spawned a thread every time it did an explosion, which was cool if you could contain those threads within like maybe 1 or 2 cores in your computer. What ended up happening, and this is the same thing actually happened to open computers at some point, I think, or was it Computer Craft, I don't remember which, having a lot of extra threads running will severely slow down the computer. Because not only are you reserving more memory to do it, you're actually taking up a lot of cores in the process. Then it chokes out the main thread for processing time. The worker thread system spawns 1 less thread than the number of cores in your computer, so it always makes sure that the main thread has 1 core to work with. It's configurable too, so you can determine how many threads you want, so you really only need 2 when you're running ICBM, by the way. Most of the threads are idle. And then when I set explosives off, it queues up explosive in the worker threads. Now, mind note, the worker threads are not just designed for the blast code. A lot of people get this mistake, and they're like, oh, that's for your blast system. You can run anything through the worker threads. It does not care what you run through. It's basically a giant data processor. Man, we're still waiting on this, too. I want to say it killed off some of the fluid blocks here because I'm not seeing them anymore. Let me check and test this. No, we still got one there. Is it still iterating or did it hit max size? We're reloaded, right? Let's do this. If is fluid system.out.println squiggles. Just put number 2. Put a break line here. You have false line there. Why did you just? I think it just debugged on me because it's dumb. Okay, I think we hit max size on this thing, which doesn't make any sense because, well, the last one took longer than this to get the max size. Okay, so... Okay, it is working. There we go. So we got our... So it is killing fluids off. So let's just go ahead and hit play and watch what it does. So it is working. So we fixed fluid handling. That's good. Get rid of our debug line here. One little trick with fluids is the get hardness check doesn't always work on them because, well, they don't really have a hardness. You can't mine them with tools. The reason, I don't know why this isn't working over here. This definitely feels like it's in range. But I think what we're having over here is just a conniption glitch fit. I don't know what's going on with this piece of crap. Just killing my blocks off. Trying to get a block close enough to this mess over here that I can trigger an update call on it, and I can't. So I want to say that this stuff isn't even here, so what I'm going to do is hit save and quit and come back in, and hopefully it'll despawn. Yeah, it's gone. So that's what I was suspecting the whole time, is that what would happen is my client thought that stuff was there, but because it was running update 0 on fluids, it wasn't doing things. So that was a bug that has now been fixed. Go ahead and synchronize it up. Fixed fluid handling for red matter. Commit. Push up the remote. Okay, so we now need to take a look at some of our other explosives as things. We do need to fix this behavioral logic mess over here. This is where the blocks are colliding. I feel like I want to turn no clip on. But this behavior is actually intentional. It's just not the way it looks like this. I mean, if you have a gravity mod that just runs and it would fix itself. You know, that might not be a bad idea to work on. Is build a small little gravity mod that just comes through here because I already have a mod for it. And what we would do is we'd be checking for free floating blocks. I'll have to visit this later. I'm going to make a bug report for it because it needs to be fixed. New issue. Set floating blocks to fall like sand. Yeah, because it wouldn't be too hard to actually fix this. And let me do this real quick. Enhancement and then bug. It's technically a bug, but not quite. It's more of an enhancement. It is something that needs to be fixed, though. But that's working better. I'm trying to decide if I want to give this a gravitational effect. This is like one of those things I've been thinking about for a while, is whether or not I want to make it fall. Because people who don't know this is based on a black hole. Um, and black holes do have mass, and they are affected by gravity. People think that black holes will float in the air. They don't, actually. Uh, they just kind of will fall through the planet and will actually eat the planet if they ever hit a planet. What is Lim talking about anyways here? Trying to get the inverted. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'll do some R&D on how the older versions worked. That's a big thing here. Let's take a look at another explosive. Let's check antimatter real quick. One, I need to see if I can kill this with antimatter. Oh, somebody had that annoying audio back. It's probably me who did that, though. Poor squids. Where did those even come from, actually? Over here? Okay, we killed the red matter. That still works. Railgun is still something that needs to be tested, but I think that's not gonna happen. I'm pretty sure that's dead, but you guys can clearly hear that, right? Server's still running. What's going on? Really easy test for this. Oh my god, it's still running. That's a bug. It's a pretty serious one, too. I can fix it, though. Well, I can fix anything at this point, but that's not the point. Okay, so what happened there is what I think happened is it's trying to find the number of blocks destroyed, and it's sitting in this loop. It's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's not doing anything. So what is supposed to happen is when an antimatter hits us, it's supposed to die, basically. But I gotta take a look at this real quick. Here's the merging physics for antimatters. Here's the explosion for explosives. Blast antimatter, play sound effect explosion. Entity set dead. What I think I just need to go ahead and do let's do this right here. Let's go to the bottom of the loop, and this will be exit conditions. Make sure stays at bottom of loop. Okay, so this has a host. Oh, this is supposed to have a host. So let's take a look at how this functions. So we got entity.setDead, do audio, explosion created. Something's not right here. Explosion created, explosion created. I see an entity here. Maybe I can kill the entity? Hold on, let's take a look at this. EX red matter. Do create EX red matter. Yes, go ahead and take a look at this. Let's create explosion. It's not what I want. There's an entity for this that's supposed to exist, but I can't seem to find it. So the blast sits inside of an entity, and the entity does all of its logic loop for it. This is not a threaded explosion. This actually is an in-world one. It's one of the few that actually does exist in this mod. But yeah, it's entity explosion is how this works, and it runs through the update. Create explosion. So there's do pre, do explosion. Okay, let's take on pre-explosion, do explode. Does this run like any blast pretty much? Apparently. How do you set the blast type on this? Where's, shoot, I just got off the wrong tab here. Okay. Any explosion. Okay, here's the blast. So there's a blast, so it then runs the blast. This all looks good, but at what point does the blast know what its host is? Okay, so let's go back to the blast antimatter. Well, let's figure out why there's a red thing here. Oh, that's because I'm trying to figure out how to kill the explosion. So what is this entity? I'm going to assume this entity is the creator of the blast. So let's go to super and we'll figure that out first. Okay, that's wanted by the Minecraft system, so that's not what I'm looking for. There is a controller. So this is what I'm looking for right here, actually. And get blast is alive. So I think we can tick the blast until it's dead. Let's try this. Yeah, there's actually a check for that, so that'll work. So we just do, if not's alive, then we exit out of the loop. So this will prevent it from getting stuck in the middle of the loop system. So it'll exit out of this here. The fact it can get stuck in this loop, though, is a little troublesome. We need to recode this whole thing. To do recode as it can if or can stall the main thread. So the problem with this, when this gets to a really large radius, the maximum size that this can iterate through can actually slow the main thread down. We can see this as I tried to set off a second red matter explosion earlier, and it actually took it a while to recognize it set off. That's not because the red matter code itself takes a while to trigger. That's because I think it got stuck inside of this loop here. There are ways to modify this code behavior to fix the problem. One of the easiest ways is I can store these three values, and I can say every time you tick, I only want you to tick 100 blocks, then pause, then resume, then pause and resume every single tick. So that way it's running better. But if I'm going to do this, I might as well do a breadth first Pathfinder, and it would run faster. Because even a breadth first Pathfinder would just be so much quicker. Making this whole thing threaded would be so much nicer too. So we'll have to look into doing that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to recoding a lot of these, even though I know this week I want to spend time on that. It will just physically take a while to get a lot of this stuff up. It took me a year to rewrite the new ICBM. It took me several months just to get this working. So just to get the classic version working, it took me a few months. And then now it's going to probably take me a few months more to just get everything to a point where it's stabilized, it's functional, where there's no longer major problems with it and everything else. This is where it's going to probably take a week or two just to recode all the explosives. It's not an actual easy path. And by the reason why I'm given the time intervals in weeks, by the way, is I stopped trying to do time intervals in days because all I have to do is hit like 1 or 2 days where I can't work on code, and it completely screws the ETA up. This is the reason I missed the March ETA, the April one, and then I missed the May one for updating the 1.8. I'm having a really hard time getting solid windows to code in that isn't like at early in the morning at times. Anyways, that'll prevent it from stalling. Now, when the antimatter goes off, this is supposed to kill the main thread. That's what this is supposed to do. We need to take a look at blast antimatter before I do anything else to this code here. So when this goes off, oh, we have a shockwave rendered on here. I update that. So this goes off, this just destroys blocks and a radius. So this is that same radius check we're seeing in the red matter, basically. Okay, and then yeah, we got, okay, here's our set dead code, so we don't have to do anything else. Set dead code already works. So let's go ahead and run this again, and we'll go ahead and take a look at it, and hopefully we don't have to loop. This is where I need to thread a lot of this. Antimatter would be probably the easiest one to thread, because after all, I already have it updated in the newer version. It's already done. No need to really work on that one. There's a high possibility that probably how I'm going to do a lot of the explosives from here on out is I'm going to make another lib that's downloaded by the new version of ICBM and the old version of ICBM, and it will contain a lot of the explosives. This will also be downloaded probably by the Armory mod, because the Armory mod is going to need a lot of that explosive code too. And I don't want to store it all in Volts Engine, because I need to try to keep Volts Engine as lightweight as possible, and especially with how the new Java system, so Java 9, which just came out, is actually designed to be modular as well. So I'm trying to make my code meet that modular design additionally, because that's going to be the way a lot of new pieces of software in the future are going to be developed. You're going to have a lot of plug-and-play modulars that are going to be downloaded and installed on your computer, and they'll clip in like Lego blocks. So I've been shifting for the last 2 years a lot of my code that direction, because I saw it coming here 3 years ago, and it's going to pretty good for modding, actually, if people catch on to it. I doubt people are going to catch on to it quickly, though, because modding is one of those worlds where there's this de facto standard and everybody pretty much plays with it. Capability system is that new de facto standard, by the way, even though the irony is me and Calclavia had a system similar to the capability system years ago, and then we talked to people about implementing, and they were like, nah, that won't work. And now everybody uses it. It's like, oh well. Not saying I'm a pioneer in that one, because I'm definitely not. Because to be honest, if it wasn't for Calclavia, I probably wouldn't even considered a capability style system either. That's an idea me and him came up with, and then we both worked on it. At the time when he was working on that, I was working on modular stuff, because I saw the potential in modular design. That's the reason why the new ICBM is the same way, is I see this version of mods that I want to make that are highly customizable. Like, you can customize everything. I don't want to leave anything that you can't toy with. I want to give people the most flexibility as possible in what they do in the game. Basic Industry is going to be a really big thing on this one. ICBM is going to hit on it a lot as well, but Basic Industry is going to do a lot more with it than ICBM is. Because you'll be able to change every piece of... That's how we're going to fix that. I'm like, oh, that's just not going to work. I'm just going to delete it. We'll go ahead and set another one off, because I got to test to see if this is fixed. Like how I'm seeing a lot of my gym wars now. Makes me really happy. Huh. Well, the first one killed the red matter. The second one, well, killed the world. Damn, look at that destruction. That's one thing I don't really get about the antimatters though, is they're running pretty much the same code as I'm running the newer version, but we still end up with these pock holes. And I need to figure out how that's done, because if I can get these little pock marks like this into the newer version, you guys would think the explosives are a lot better, because the new version, way too clean holes. For those who still don't really recognize what I'm talking about, because I know I sit a while and I spout words off and then I don't connect the words with imagery. And if Fox has taught me anything, imagery is important. I'm making a political joke there, by the way. So look how clean this explosion is. Look how ugly that is. But it's ugly in a good way. This is the kind of stuff you would see of a real explosion. This is how you can tell I'm running an algorithm. Clean algorithm. Clean, or real algorithm. Real algorithm. So that's like huge difference. And this looks so nice too, even though realistically these run about the same code. Sorta. There are some problems with this. I might spend some time just toying with this algorithm here, because I want to make this look so nice. But man, look at that. That's just... There's something when you sit here and you stare at the old code that I understand when people complain that they don't like the new version. And I look at this and I fully agree with you. I haven't done enough with the new version to really live up to this. This is just awe-inspiring when it comes to explosions. Really beautiful. This is a reason why I still work on ICBM, by the way, is I love the beauty produced by destruction. I don't like the idea of destroying things. I do love the beauty that comes out of it, though. It's amazing. Let's see. So let's just sit here and take a look at the antimatter blast. So if we go back to the red matter and we sit here and we hit Control B on this, and let's take a look at it. So when this goes off, it's literally just running. Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking about doing originally. So that's what he is doing. He's just randomizing it right at the end. That's how we're ending up with this. Okay, we got to test this theory. So when you're doing science, by the way, you want to do this always. If you have a theory, or a hypothesis, actually is how it's called. So hypothesis testing. You want to go, okay, I think this is what's working. And then you want to think of some alternative real quick, and you want to test both. So I don't have an alternative, but we're just going to go ahead and test this, and we're going to do the procedure. So we went ahead and we tested this, and this is how the hole looks. Let's go. Oh man, I almost blew up my test environment again. I need to make a script that just builds me test environments. Not a horrible idea. Maybe, I don't know, maybe here later. I do plan to make a couple more videos today. For those of you who are like wondering why you also, because I'm probably going to upload these like hours later after I record them. So there's people like going like, what do you mean today? This video was uploaded at like 10 in the night. It's like, yeah, I do mean today, but at the same time, upload time. I was talking to my brother about that too. I'm like, I need to get in the habit of not mentioning time and day at all while I'm recording. You know, I removed all the audio off of these, and it still has audio on there, so I must have fudged and reversed some commit or something. See, look how clean that hole looks now. And you see like the hexagon patterns you start to see, those show up in my new ones too. So that is that radius-based check, and man, that looks so good. And you can tell why the reason I'm a computer scientist. I love algorithms. I suck in math, but I love algorithms. It's hilarious. Get these nice hexagon shapes. I'm also kind of liking this a lot too, because I tried to build something like this years ago. I played on some server. I think it was called like Vanilla Craft or something. I don't remember the name. I just remember one of the admin's name was Zerg. But I tried to build an underground base that had a bowl shape like this. And plus it was underground as well, so it had a lot of things going for it. It was like a 1.4 kilometer base. They ended up blowing it up on the server, by the way, after I got banned. But yeah, so test our theory at least correctly, but although we got to test a couple more times just to make sure. But I'm doing that just to prove a point rather than I really give a crap about testing it again. In the name of science, you must test. Plus, I'm really just enjoying blowing things up right now. For those who wonder why I'm doing a lot more testing than coding right now, I got a slight cold right now. It's making it hard to actually code. I figured do more tests today and we'll be fine. Oh, there's a mine shaft down here. Well, not anymore. Mine carts down here. Diamonds. You know what I need to do? I might upgrade the antimatter in the classic version to do a fireball effect at the last second and then flood those tunnels with fire. Because for those who don't know how antimatter works in real life, when you combine matter with antimatter, it creates pure energy. That pure energy releases at a very high rate, which then creates a air detonation blast, and it's the shock wave that does all the damage. So it would work like any other explosive. The only difference is at point of contact, you'll have an antimatter detonation, and anything that's at that point of contact will guaranteedly die. Doesn't matter if it's Superman or somebody else. Anything made of matter will just turn into pure energy. But at least we figured out what causes that effect. So we're going to borrow this code and we're going to go put it in some of the other explosives here later. Yeah, that'd be really easy to implement too. So let me just do this because this doing that randomization will actually provide quite a few different tweaks here. So let me go ahead and let's go find some blast code from the new ICBM here. We're gonna go. Actually, I don't know how we're gonna implement this. Does do affect others. Damage entities. Should path. Super should path. Gonna copy this code. The reason I'm pausing here for a second is I'm trying to decide if I want to prefab it. Let's start simple, and let's just want to see if that reloaded actually. We'll do that as our coin flip. Yeah, okay, that reloaded. So we're gonna start simple, and we're just gonna do in the current explosion. So we want to do if it's size -1 or that whatever random over here. So apparently that 0.7 random is amazing. So we're going to just copy that. And that should produce the same exact result. And you notice, by the way, if you look at this code, so this is all the code to do the antimatter for the classic version. This is the code that does the new version. The difference is, you notice how there's no pathfinding code in here? All the pathfinding is prefabbed out. The only thing we got in here is we describe what blocks we want to pathfind. We describe what happens to the blocks when we hit them. We describe how we do our visuals here, which right now I don't think the new antimatter really has visuals. But we'll go ahead and test it. So we have the right here. Look at that. We got a little bit of randomization on the edge here. And what we want to do, there's a second thing we want to do here. Because I just about fucked up. And when I say that is, you notice how this went down pretty deep here? Is I just about infinite looped the Pathfinder. Luckily the randomizer worked or I would have been in trouble. Let's go find another spot. There we go. That's a little better. Let me make sure I did hit reload on that. I did. So that gets us our effect. So we got a little bit more uglier of a hole now. And that's what we want. We want a little bit of randomization. We can actually do this a little better too. I'm going to toy with this in particular, and I'm going to make it radius based, and we're going to play with hardnesses and stuff. And what we want to see is that if there's a harder material, we want to see a little bit more randomization in the damage. A few other things. One of the big things, I got to work on the shockwave system, because how the explosions are supposed to work is the shockwave is supposed to do most of the damage. So the antimatter right now in the new version is not coded at all how I want to do it. It was the only explosion I was willing to compromise on my standard, because it took me a while for the nuke. I just started working on the nuke. I haven't finished it yet. I know I promised I'd probably get it done within a week or so, but modding, there's no schedule set because I'm working around everything else. Especially school right now. School's taking a lot out of me. I got a huge team project. What the hell, YouTube? Flood my screen with commentary here. And the reason I'm yelling at YouTube for this is has popped up on every one of my computers like at least 3 times the last couple days. I've already read all these comments. I've already saw all these videos. But where was I? Yeah, so school's taking a lot out of what I'm doing right now. I got a team project I'm working on. I'm spending a huge amount of time working on that, although I'm not exactly sure my team is doing the same. I don't want to throw them under the bus when I say that, but it's starting to feel that like that impression, like they're doing more work on other projects than I am, and I'm taking away from my own personal projects to pick up a little bit of the slack. We're only in week 3, so we haven't had to do any heavy work yet. But I'm hoping when the heavy work comes, they really help out, because I don't want to be left doing a lot of work, because I'm one of the new guys into the whole project system. So how Franklin University does their system is there's 3 semesters of projects you have to do. I'm on semester 1. So there's semester 2 and semester 3. So one of the guys in our group is from semester 2, and one of the guys is semester 3. So the guy semester 3 is leading the group, and he's doing an okay job, but he's actually not supposed to do the work. We're supposed to everybody else. But the guy from semester 2 doesn't seem to be doing much, and there's one other guy semester 1, so he's on my same bar. But I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying they're crap, because we haven't exactly hit a point where we need to prove ourselves. This is working pretty good for sand too. Not bad. I need to spend more time, because let's say with shockwaves. So how the antimatter is supposed to behave is at the very center. You're supposed to have the antimatter reaction. So you're supposed to detonate and destroy everything. Then you're supposed to produce a shockwave. The shockwave is missing. This is the reason why the antimatter is really underpowered right now. So what you're seeing right now is you're seeing that pure energy destruction just wiping blocks out. So anything that's in this radius is dead. It's gone. So you could hit like a concrete wall, bunker, whatever. Boom, it's gone. Then what's supposed to happen next after this is it's supposed to produce a shockwave, and the shockwave is about 10 times the size of this. So you would have destruction going all the way out to the island from just that little missile. And the reason why it's really destructive is antimatter is probably going to be one of the hardest substances to get in the game, is because I'm not going to make it as easy as it used to be in the older versions. So the older versions with the particle accelerator from Atomic Science, it was not too hard to get antimatter. We eventually nerfed it down after a while too, because people were abusing the crap out of it with power generation. But it's going to be really hard to get. You're going to get a couple milligrams at a time. A couple milligrams is going to do maybe, let's say, it would break out an area about, well, this isn't very helpful. We'll use it this way. So we'll say a couple milligrams would do like that. So that's what a couple milligrams would do. This thing would be about 1 gram of antimatter, and it's producing a hole that big. That's how destructive antimatter is. It's pretty damn destructive. So once you get the shockwave and go out all the way out to the island, it would throw blocks everywhere. Because that's one thing with the shockwaves I want to do, is I want to make it throw blocks more than it destroys them. So you'll have more shrapnel, more debris, and the debris is what's going to do all the damage. So I'm going to add gravitational effects, it'll blow windows out, knock buildings over. You get the point. Anyways, we're going to end the video here, and apologies for spending more time talking than coding, but it happens.